that I introduce our chairman for today's and tomorrow's sessions, Phil McGee with Campbell Soup. Phil McGee began his career in the CPG industry in 1994 with the launch of a private label marketing news, a monthly newsletter that he founded that covers trends and significant events in the marketing of private brands. That same year, he joined Damon Associates, the country's leading private label sales and marketing organization, where he helped introduce one of the nation's largest private label brands in food, beverage, and HBC. In 1997, he joined Kmart Corporation, where he served as Director of Corporate Brands and moved through the ranks to become Divisional Vice President, Strategic Marketing. In 2003, he joined the Campbell Soup Company to lead the company's efforts in customer and support and shopper insights, and has since assumed oversight in shopper insights in Campbell Soup and Pepperidge Farm. Phil has a BA in Management from Sonoma State University and an MBA from Fordham University. Please welcome Phil. Phil had mentioned to me when he first came and checked in at this year's conference, he said, "Chairman, do you get special badges?" We used to get a tag or something that said chairman so people knew, and we felt really bad about that, so we created something really special for Phil this year. Congratulations! You're a winner.
Do I get a bouquet of flowers?
Yes, you do.
That's wonderful. Rumor has it that the chairman also got the presidential suite. Any opportunities? All right, maybe not. I can apologize, because I don't usually stand behind the podium. I like to walk around, but it looks like we don't have those little walk-around mics, so we'll make do with what we have. I want to begin with a story of something that happened 2 years ago. The Wall Street Journal was doing an article on changes that Campbell's made to its condensed soup labels and the research that went behind those changes. So the reporter came down to Campbell's. Clicker. Sorry, technical. Here we are. So the reporter came down to Campbell's and spent about 5 hours interviewing executives, and 3 of those hours he spent with me, which, needless to say, was quite intimidating. And I spent that time taking you through the changes on the labels. I talked about the changes on our in-store gravity feed fixture, and even let him experience some of the research methods that we used himself firsthand. So when the story broke, I did what I think anyone under those circumstances would do. I got up extra early. I raced down to the newsstand, and even before paying the cashier, I looked for and scanned the article to find my name and my quote. Well, I found our chairman's name at the time. I found my boss's boss's name. I found the name of one of our research suppliers. I even found Andy Warhol's name. So after 3 hours and 752 words, I got upstaged by 3 colleagues and an artist that's been dead for 25 years. And that was especially upsetting because 20 years before that, I actually made a bet with my brother to be the first to be named in the Wall Street Journal. So there went my chance. But then last year, I had a second chance to be interviewed by the Journal. And this time, I asked our Director of Media Relations for some media coaching. And he said, he goes, the first time you probably said too much. And that's fair, because I was with the guy for 3 hours. It wasn't exactly an elevator speech. He said, they're always looking for that one little thing, that one perfect quote-worthy soundbite. And ironically, the more you say, the harder it is for them to find that. Oh, thank you. And he said, let's try this. Let's imagine you're being interviewed, and the reporter says, what's the state of shopper insights today? Now, how would you answer that question using only one word? Word. I guess I'd say good. I said, all right, well, that's not much of a soundbite. Let's open it up a little bit. How would you answer that question using 2 words? 2 words, okay. Well, I guess 2 words, I'd say not good. Okay, that's a problem, you said. Let's open it up a little bit more. Let's try 3 words. I said, well, 3 words is a lot easier. 3 words, I guess I would say, not good enough. And there, he said, that's perfect. That's a quote. And I learned then never to use 10 words when 3 words will do. And those 3 words, not good enough, I think it's a fair assessment of where Shopper Insights is today. But at least 2 good things came from that. The first is, with the media coaching work, so at least I can check that off my bucket list. And the second good thing is that you've all chosen to give up part of your summer to be at a conference which is designed to help us exceed good enough by offering opportunities to learn and to network and to broaden our perspectives so we can all raise our game. And so with this 12th annual Shopper Insights in Action Conference, and this being my 2nd year as conference chairman, I'd like to begin by drawing your attention to this year's theme, the new integrated, multi-channel, socially interwoven journey to purchase, or NIPSHIP for short. Now, your conference producer, Rachel, obviously had never used 3 words when 10 words will do philosophy, but understandably she had a lot to pack in, and she found a way. And my role in this will be to provide perspective and to challenge our current state of not good enough. And I want to do that carefully. In fact, I want to do that very carefully. Because being chairman of the industry's biggest conference, I think, is a big deal. And doing it twice carries, I think, a lot of risk. Because there's the expectation that the second time is going to be at least as good as the first. I mean, God forbid that I come up and have a sophomore slump. I mean, I don't want that to happen. But when Rachel called and said, hey, how would you like to do this again? Flashes of well-known sophomore slumps went racing through my mind. For instance, I think we're all familiar with the movie Caddyshack. And Caddyshack came out in 1980, and it was a blockbuster, and I think arguably one of the funniest movies ever made. But then Caddyshack 2 came out and was nominated for Worst Picture, Worst Actor, Worst Supporting Actor, and Worst Original Song. We don't want that to happen to us. Another example is Grease. Grease is among the top 400 movies ever made. And then Grease 2 came out. Cost twice as much to make Grease 2 as it did to make Grease 1, and made about $400 million less. Sophomore slump. Another example, Friends. We all love Friends. Friends ran for 10 seasons and was nominated for 66 Emmy Awards. And Matt LeBlanc, we know Matt LeBlanc, who played Joey. Well, he left and started his own show, Joey. And within 2 seasons, he was recognized as a sophomore slump, and there went that. This cute little guy right here, this is Churchill, nicknamed Church from the movie Pet Sematary. About halfway through, Church gets hit by a truck. They resurrect him in the Pet Sematary, and sophomore slump. Nobody likes that. Let's see. This one, well, that one speaks for itself. I don't think I need to talk about that one too much. And some just take this to the extreme. So, Jaws was a mega blockbuster. Jaws 2, sophomore slump. Jaws 3, double sophomore slump. It's been said that you can recover from a sophomore slump. Hometown favorite and named the greatest athlete of the 20th century, Michael Jordan, decided he would take up baseball. So he took up baseball for a year, or shall we say baseball took him up for a year before we all recognized it was a sophomore slump. He went back to basketball, and it was better than ever. So my hope is, to emulate those who have never had a sophomore slump. And when I think of that, I think of Steve Martin. Steve Martin, he hosted Saturday Night Live 15 times and was revered by audiences each and every time. When I think of companies, the first company that comes to mind for me is Apple. They just continue to come out and innovate and come out with better and better and better products. How many of us own at least one of these things? And but I think the greatest example, by far, of someone who's never had a sophomore slump is of course, Billy Beane. And in 1987, he was a World Series champion with the Minnesota Twins, and 25 years later became the subject of a book and a movie, Moneyball, which was nominated for Best Picture last year. So now you might understand why coming back a second time is risky, especially when you come out and you tell 600 people that they're not good enough. And but then I thought, is that really a fair assessment? Because you can look at this from many different ways, and viewed another angle, you can actually conclude that maybe we're better than ever. Because when you look back from when this conference began back in the year 2000, when we looked in the mirror, I think there's a lot of things that we'd be proud of. For one is just, when you think of all the insights that culminated into innovation in retail formats and merchandising, just things like Wegmans Pub, Schnucks Culinaria, the advancements in meal solutions, and other types of merchandising that it's not just easier and more engaging to shop, but even easier for operators to execute. And these are insights transformed to activations that tell shoppers and operators that we understand them, that we know that there are real problems and we're coming up with real solutions for them. I think another thing that we can celebrate is that shopper satisfaction is at least a 7-year high. There may be sources that go back further than that, but I was referencing something that went back to 2005, and 2011 was by far the highest satisfaction year. And 95% of shoppers would recommend the store that they shop to other shoppers. So I think that's something to be proud of. And this one is really quite astonishing. Considering today's economy, we're finding ways to dimensionalize value in new and relevant ways. Even in commodity categories. Consider that we've got now super premium versions of eggs and toothpaste and coffee and dog food that are selling for substantially more, but are often selling as high as 400 times the rate of their base varieties. That's just extraordinary that we're being able to demonstrate value that way. And even new shopping cohorts are coming in and they're buying as much as 10% fewer items on deal, which means we're learning to speak with the new shoppers as they enter the marketplace. But if we do continue looking in that mirror, I think there's something that objectively we can say we can do better on. The first is just considering the stagnant growth of CPG. At best over the past several years, it's been flat. And the lifeblood of CPG growth is product innovation. And we all know that. We all know it's important, yet over the past 5 years, innovation's been down by 10%. And sadly, 95% of that is just line extensions. And given the unremarkable consumer response, it's pretty clear that a lot of those are just, sophomore slumps. Next. Loyalty programs not generating loyalty. So there are 174 million households that are currently enrolled in grocery store loyalty programs, which is kind of funny because there's only 121 million households, which is, I think, telling because that tells you that people are more loyal to loyalty programs than they are to retailers. In fact, we know that less than 15% of households are loyal to any one particular retailer. So what they are loyal to are loyalty programs. Because loyalty programs get their price. And I think this next one is particularly troubling because we've been doing shopper insights for 12 years and we've still been unable to take shoppers' minds off of price as the ultimate dimension of value. In 2007, among a list of 25 attributes that drove store choice, low prices ranked number 4th, and today it ranks comfortably at number 1. We still haven't figured out the center store. It's been estimated that $23 billion in trips have been lost by traditional grocers in the center store. And in what's left, 70% of the products that are on this store are turning less than 3 items per store per week. 3 items per store per week, that's crazy. And more than half the items are losing money. Not just making money, but losing money. So it's no wonder why 70% of retailers are saying that going forward they're going to put less emphasis and space to the center store. And then there's the ultimate sacrifice by losing touch with your shoppers, and that is when you have to admit defeat and close your doors. And since this conference started, we've seen 60 retail icon brands that closed their doors for good, and another 63 that are currently in Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection or liquidating. So as I thought about not good enough and what might be driving not good enough, I came up with what I think are 4 significant drivers of that, and they're not, we need more headcount and we need more dollars, although every survey will tell you that. For me, I think one of the most important contributing factors is the fact that we have a lack of standards. And there's a clear lack of standards in our industry. When you think about shopper segments and shopper need states and key metrics and even methodologies, that the lack of standards is creating a lot of inefficiency and a lot of confusion and keeping us stuck in unproductive debate instead of proactive activation. Just as an example, last year I stood on the stage and I talked about the results of a study that we had done on Path to Purchase. And in it, I referenced a long-standing and often cited statistic that 70% of all purchase decisions are made in store. Now I talked about how our research said, well, that's really quite opposite. In fact, we found that, at least in our categories, 80% of decisions are made before shoppers go into the store. And then if you were here yesterday, you would have seen Popeye's presentation where they said it's no longer 70% of purchase decisions made in store. Now it's 76% of purchase decisions are made in store. So clearly both of these things can't be true. But the good news is, today at 4:15, Jeff Inman and myself, Jeff's from the University of Pittsburgh, and he co-chaired the research committee on the Popeye study. He and I, among other things, are going to talk about this discrepancy. And as it turns out, both of these things can be true. It's just that we're both operating from a different set of standards. Now, I recognize that this is a shameless plug, and this is not fair to the other outstanding presenters at the 4:15 time slot. So, in the spirit of fair play, I want to make sure that I give those guys some equal time. Okay. So the second contributing factor, I think, is no unifying frameworks. So, let's see. Today's Thursday. All right. So, let's say you go in your office Monday morning, and the president of your company is sitting at your desk, and when you walk in, he says, "Congratulations, you've just been promoted to the Vice President of Consumer Insights. You start tomorrow." Well, if you're like me, this never happened to me, it's just a little fantasy of mine, but if you're like me, the first thing that you would do is that you would call your lead supplier and say, "Hey, I just got the top job in Insights, how should I think about this?" And you know, if they're worth your business, then they're probably going to answer quite quickly with a framework for how you should think about doing your work. You know, ad tracking, copy and ad testing, you know, brand equity, brand architecture, marketing mix analysis, all these various things that are typically done in consumer insights, and even give you a way to think about how you should allocate your budget proportionally. But I don't think you're going to find those types of frameworks existing today in shopper insights. In fact, the one framework that I think we have, which is the Path to Purchase, is something that we don't talk about the same way, we don't think about the same way, we don't use it the same way, and even the name itself is at risk as people begin to introduce new terms, even our friends, no disrespect, IIR. But journey to purchase, Path to Purchase, I mean, who the hell cares? Just pick one and go on with it and develop a unifying framework. So my challenge is for us to collaborate, manufacturers and research companies and retailers, to come up with unifying frameworks and standards that work for everybody and refrain from the current model where we're all left to figure this out for ourselves. Because it's inefficient, it's confusing, and quite frankly, it's keeping our industry from doing what so desperately needs to be done. So moving on to the number third, which is, I think quite frankly, we're just still young. I mean, this is a relatively new space, shopper insights. We're still learning more about how shoppers behave. We're building our own knowledge estates. Our best practices are yet to mature, and so that's why it's important that we have conferences like this. And I think Rachel's done just a spectacular job of bringing together a group of world-class speakers. We've got 31 manufacturers, we've got 19 insight service providers, 11 retailers, 4 mobile technology marketers, and 1 university, which happens to be Jeff Inman of the University of Pittsburgh, who today at 4:15 and I will be presenting some work that I talked about last year, but we built upon since then. And, oh yeah, there's the equal time thing. All right, so we also have quite a range of specialty among our speakers. We've got a Major League Baseball general manager. Where are you going to find that? We have a neuroscientist. We have a cultural anthropologist. We have an economist, and nice work if you can get it, and better if you can actually pull it off, chief storyteller. And then clearly there's something for everybody at this year's conference. We've got insights in the store, insights beyond the store, ways to collaborate, ROI and measurement, and lots to talk about in digital and technology. In fact, the only place you're going to find more content in this conference, I think, is on your iPad. Because on your iPad, you can go to Facebook, and you can go to the Shopper Insights in action and find a lot of content. You can go to YouTube and find presentations from previous conferences. You can go to Twitter. You can go to IIR's website and find not just content, but the ability to network with 7,000 other people, professionals who share your same passion. The last contributing factor, I think, is as Shopper Insight carpenters, I don't think we've always had the right tools to be able to effectively do our job. And this is where the suppliers come in. And over the last 12 years, there's been an incredible evolution in terms of research methods and the suppliers that represent them. And that's another thing that this conference brings to you, which is a set of world-class agencies and suppliers and puts them all under one roof. And so I would encourage you, if you haven't already, to visit the expo and visit as many of these suppliers as you can and just say, hey, what's new? Because chances are they're going to have a lot new to share with you. And in fact, these are the guys who are going to help us ultimately to become better than ever. So let's get there, all of us. And to begin that journey, I would ask you to maybe ask yourself a couple of questions. First is, do you generate insights that deliver increased satisfaction for your shoppers while at the same time delivering growth for your company and your trading partners? Do you work collaboratively internally and externally to develop high-impact activations? And have you earned a seat at what I like to call the big table, so you can influence your company's go-to-market strategies? So depending on how you answer these questions for yourself, I think you're going to conclude that either we're not good enough or we're better than ever. And from my perspective, I would say that we're both. Thank you very much. Before I kick things off, I do want to just acknowledge our 4:15-hour speakers. I had a lot of fun with them. Thank you. You're out there, and you probably weren't very happy with this part of the conference so far, but there really are some good sessions. The first one, I know that good friends of mine, Mark Berry and Gavin Fitzsimmons, are going to be talking about a very exciting initiative being undertaken between Duke University and Ipsos. I think it's a textbook example of collaboration between retailers, manufacturers, and research suppliers. It's something that personally I'm proud to be a part of. So you definitely want to be a part of that. Secondly, there's Bert Spies is working with Vision Critical. I've seen their presentation, and I think they've done a really, really good job of putting together some very relevant case studies that I think everybody can learn from. So you're not going to want to miss that one. The third one with Interbrand Design Forum. So I've worked with Design Forum in the past. I was very, very impressed, not just by their creative abilities, but also by their creative research abilities as well. And I've got a case study which I'll talk about that includes their work. And I'd love to talk about it because it really is innovative. So everyone's certainly going to want to see that. And then T. Fuqua from Tyson Foods is here. He's going to talk about some insights in the perimeter, which I know is relevant to everyone here in one way, shape, or form. And I would say if his presentation is as good as his chicken, then absolutely everyone's going to be there at that one too. So I can imagine there's going to be a lot of coin flipping at 4:15 about which session people are going to want to be at. But if you're having trouble making up your mind, you can always come and see Jeff Inman and myself. We'll be happy to host you. So with that, I'd like to take advantage of my duties as chairman and officially kick off the conference by saying let the conference begin. By the way, if there's any attorneys in the room, if there's any resemblance between this and athletic events to take place in London next week, it's purely coincidental. Okay, so I would like to, at this point now, introduce our first speaker. Our first speaker not only understands the importance of connecting with consumers on an emotional level, but has spent years doing it with companies like Coca-Cola, Estee Lauder, Victoria's Secret, J&J, Hy-Vee, Danone, P&G, Unilever, Samsung, and the city of Beijing. His secret? Well, he learned to shift the focus from products to people. And this insight led him to predict over 10 years ago the concept of a consumer democracy, where social media plays a central role in brand health. So to tell you more about emotional branding, please welcome author, designer, filmmaker, and CEO of Emotional Brand Alliance, Mr. Mark Gobet.